सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् परमानन्दमाधवम्। Hari Om. We were speaking about this Vishayas and how the seeker can move about in the world and yet keep that prajna steady. Be steadfast in that self, or be steadfast in that knowledge of the self. So we had started this discussion with with who is this Sthita Prajna, and then we had moved on to understanding how he operates and how is it that he is able to be sthira in this prajna. And then more of it we were talking in terms of this sayama, this indriya sayama. This indriya sayama doesn't only relate only to the sense organs, but it also means the mind and intellect, because it is the buddhi which is going to be my instrument to reach that which is illumining this buddhi. So how is it that I keep this buddhi aware and alert is what is spoken of in this sayama, in this practice of sayama. So we had seen the earlier verses. Now I will just chant from verse number 60 onwards, or rather we will start also from Vishaya Vinivartante, which is 59th verse. Vishaya Vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjan rasopyasya param društva nivartate yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitah indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manah. Then further he says in the 61st verse, Tani sarvani sayyamya yukta asita matparah vashe hi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. And then we took the example very much in detail. We elaborated on the ladder of fall, which is detailed in this 62 and 63 verse, where he says, Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammohah sammohat smriti vibhramah smriti bhramshat buddhinashah buddhinashat pranashyati. So here we had seen how when we are doing this dhyana on the Vishayas, when already our five senses are going outward, they are going outward, and when along with these the mind also moves about, when the mind is much more focused on contemplation, or rather the mind's thoughts are more focused on the Vishayas, on the sense objects, then what is going to happen? Then that vichara or rather the dhyana on those Vishayas is going to definitely bring about that desire for that object. Having expressed an interest for it, having seen the sukha buddhi in it, in that object, then what? Then it will want to have that object. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat, then once having developed that desire for that object, wanting to, when I have been repeatedly thinking of that object, have seen that there is some kind of a sukha that I am going to derive from it, further what is going to happen? That mind is going to be robbed, right? It is going to be robbed by that ichha or that desire to have that object. That attachment that comes with it, that raga which I have developed for that object is going to pull me in to act on that desire. That desire, when I act on it, that kama which has come about, now what will happen with that? If there is kama, there is bound to be krodha. So somewhere when I am going to see, instead of sukha, I am going to see that there is a dukkha which is going to result from it. Definitely there is going to be some agitation, be it in the form of krodha, the expression in terms of anger, or be it in terms of an expression of lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. These shadripus will definitely tag along when the kama has come and krodha is imperative, right? So here we saw this ladder of fall, kamat krodho vijayate, and then what happens when the krodha comes? What is going to happen? My memory, smriti vibhramaha, so in the next verse, what was told in krodhat bhavati sammohaha. So because of krodha, what is going to happen? Whatever I was, after I lose my presence of mind because of the delusion that is created by that kama, that delusion that this was going to give me sukha, or this is what I need and without this I cannot live, right? So that sammoha, that moha which is there, what is it going to do? It is sammohat smriti vibhramaha, that smriti or that memory of what is right and wrong is going to be veiled. I am not able to go and when that memory of what is right and wrong is veiled, what is going to happen? I am not going to be able to make a decision. Smriti bhramshat buddhi nashaha. My buddhi is definitely not going to be able to function in the right way, and buddhi nashat pranashyati. This is going to cause my destruction. So that is that ladder of fall which is detailed here. We also saw in terms of practical terms how this very kind of a logic is used in the marketing. And yet, if we understand this, if we have done that pariksha or that pariksha lokan, if we have analyzed and we have seen what it is doing to us, or not just us, we don't have to get into the experience to learn the lesson. So if we have seen this happen elsewhere, then the smart thinking should tell us that we should definitely not engage in that particular desire, right? And then what can then I do? So in that terms, right, if I am able to pull myself out of getting into that kind of a dhyana, from dhyana to the last stage is what? Krodha. So if I am able to pull myself away out of this smartly at the first step itself, then that's best. Otherwise too, I can make a decision that this is definitely not giving me that nitya nirantara sukha, and that is what I am seeking. So if this is going to give me even this wee bit of pleasure that I am getting, if at the end of it is going to result in dukkha alone, then why even go for it? Why prolong my Nitya Sukha which is within my reach when my buddhi is intact, my buddhi is not robbed away by this kama? Then what should I do? Then there itself, when I pull away from this kind of a thought chain, then I am not going to have that fall. In fact, this will then result in exalting me towards that Swarupa, towards that Swarupa dhyana instead of Vishaya dhyana. So if I build this ladder of rise instead by becoming more aware of where is the source of Nitya Nirantara Sukha, that Brahmananda Prapti, how can I attain it? Where is it that I can gain this knowledge? From whom can I get it? Is the Guru within my reach? Then alone will this bridging of the gap between the Swabhava and Swarupa come about. So we had already seen what is Swabhava. Swabhava is my personality, which moment to moment I am molding, which moment to moment I can decide on as to what is it that I want to pursue with my Swabhava. So how can I change, make the right adjustments, do the right tuning in my Swabhava so that what? So that I go towards that Nitya Ananda, which is my true Swarupa itself, which is never going to change. So that which is in my grasp, why not just be that, rather than trying to going on making adjustments as per the world and going on reaching for those small puddles of sukha. So here now then Bhagavan says, fine, yes, you can go towards that ladder of rise by doing the right kind of evaluation, by having the right awareness, by developing the right interest, right? Through what? Through satsanga. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve jivan mukti, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan mukti. Right? This is from the Bhaja Govindam, right? So here too, now Bhagavan says that what is, how should I develop this alert and aware life? What is it that I should do to develop that kind of a dhamma? Because Bhagavan had said that fine, even at that stage where you have come to that krodha, where you have come to that expression of krodha, what can you do? You can still pull back. When can you pull back? When you have corrected your thinking, when you have made those adjustments in your life through the right sadhana. So now what is that right sadhana? When I have learned to exercise dhamma in the right situation at the right time. When I have that presence of mind and I am self-controlled, then what can I do? Then even in the stage when the karma has come into play and I have smartly been able to offer that karma, that desire to the Lord, and I say that Bhagwan, I am not able to control myself, I have inadvertently I have jumped into the hands of this desire. Now you are the only one who can save me, you are the one who can give me that kind of a support so that I come out of this. So then Bhagavan says, fine, you can do it, go ahead. If you are offering it to me, then also know that as a result of this, what comes to you, you have to accept it as prasada. So how does this, how is it that one is able to control oneself? How is it that one is able to develop that kind of a dhamma? And is it, dhamma is in terms of at the body level. So how are you saying that I will express this anger which has come to me? Yes, whenever a person of wisdom experiences that anger, that person is able to control it and contain it within and not have it expressed outside like an outburst, right? Then he will be able to use that anger for the right cause in the right way. Okay, so here Bhagwan in the 64th verse, Bhagwan is saying what according to the Bhagavad Gita is an alert way of living. How is it one can express this, or rather how is it one can be this person who is self-controlled and is able to do this dhamma or practice this dhamma. So here he says, Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaicharan atmavashye vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Again I will chant. Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaicharan atmavashye vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. So here again Bhagavan says that the one who is a vidheya atma, the one who has gained that self-control, is in control of the situation. How is he in control of the situation? Is he staying in an isolated environment? Is he going to be able to not interact with people? Is it that he's going to be just sitting in samadhi? Is that the way he's going to control himself? So here he says no. This person whom Bhagwan is talking to us about, how is this person? This person is one who has lived in the world, who is even now in and through the transactions of the world. Yeah, he's very much part of the Vyavahar. Bhagwan is not telling that go sit somewhere high up in the mountains and there you will be able to sit quietly and no one is going to trouble you. Actually, in today's day and age, if you try to do that, then from somewhere even some drone might come, or people might just turn up anywhere, people, creatures, anything. So the one who has to be disturbed will be disturbed no matter where they are. But here the person that Bhagwan is talking about is one who has already committed to being in the world, in Vyavahara, and yet through his sadhana has been practicing this self-control, has known how to be restrained in his senses, in the expression of his senses, so too in terms of how he is connecting with the world. That art is something that he has able to master. So here he says that then you might ask, okay, fine, here it says that raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaicharan. Vishayan indriyaicharan, this person, he is moving about all the vishayas, all the material world. He is very much in the thick and thin of the objects of the world. But what kind of objects? Here what is told is not that he is just going wild anywhere, but he is a person, this is a person, right, he or she, this is a person who is aware of the sense pleasures, is aware of what kind of dangers or threat it might prove for a seeker, but the kind of environment he does get into, the kind of vyavahara he does get into is something which is already part of his world of duties. The role and the role that he is playing as part of whatever his worldly duties are, he is restricting himself to only those vishayas, to only those objects and those people, and not truly, not fully extrovert as such, nor is he completely introvert. So that is the kind of person that we are speaking of, right? A person who is very well moving about the world of objects and the Vishayas are very, very how? They are the ones which are already, they are not prohibited wishes. Like if you say that, okay, is he going about, is he going about in the material world and putting himself into such environments where he tries each and every experience? No, he is not going about exposing himself to each and every experience. Whatever is prohibited, like he is not going to go and have liquor, right? Or nor is he going to go, and do some kind of dangerous stunts with weapons, etc. No, that which does not call for it in his line of duty, he will not do. Like you will see, even there are so many people who operate at higher levels, be it in the corporates, be it in the government, and they do live a disciplined life. They might clink glasses of champagne, but they might not ever drink it, right? And these exist not just in Bharat, they exist in all corners of the world, right? So what needs to be restrained, what needs to be disciplined, they are aware of that and they stick to that. So for such a person, so for who is this such a person? The one who doesn't have, who knows what is raga and who knows what is dvesha, but he is no longer not, he is controlled in that raga dvesha. He doesn't, he doesn't really go and push himself to towards a lot of raga. Nor does he develop an asakti towards something. Nor does he go far away from so many situations, right? So atma vashe vidheyatma, for such a person who is obedient, who is obedient to what? Who is obedient to that higher intellect which exercises this kind of a discipline. For such a restrained mind, is this outcome which is told by Bhagwan. So he says, vidheya atma tu raga dvesha vimuktaihi atma vishyaihi indriyaihi vishayan charan prasadam adhigacchati. So to such a person, what is Bhagwan promising? To such a person, Bhagwan promises that you will get that, what? Prasadam adhigacchati. So what is this that is guaranteed? What is Bhagwan offering for such a person? So for such a person, Bhagwan says that he will give that prasannata swasthyam. This is told by Shankaracharya ji in his commentary. He says that Bhagwan will, for such a person, who is practicing that Dhamma, is not giving vent to his, is not, suddenly causing an outburst of his emotions, but is in control of his emotions. To such a person, Bhagwan promises prasadam adhigacchati. This prasadam adhigacchati, it breaks up into prasannata as well as swasthyam. Prasannata means cheerfulness, and swasthyam means good health. Now this good health is not in terms of physical body, this good health is in terms of the mental state of mind of this person. So here Bhagwan says that what is a guarantee? The guarantee is that you will have a good, healthy, cheerful mind as a result of that, no matter what your circumstances. So maybe even physically that person might not be as fit and healthy, but his mindset is how? His mindset is ever in that, not in the Vishaya Sukham, ever in that Paramartha Sukham. And he operates from that. So that is what that Prasannata Swasthyam means. So this is how is this going to come about? What is it that this person is practicing? What is the sadhana that he is doing? So this sadhana is not in terms of a japa sadhana or an upasana, right? This sadhana is in terms of being in that vyavahara. Being in the vyavahara, meaning he's not going away from vyavahara. He's not going and sitting quietly in one place and not doing anything and then having this prasanna swasthyam, but he is rather operating in the fields of vyavahara, in the transactional world. He is very much in it. But how is he in this transactional world? He is doing this sadhana where he overcomes being fully pulled in by his preferences. He will be there in the world, but he will not insist on his preferences. In fact, he will go beyond his preferences. Whatever is offered to him, he will be in line with that. When his line of duty is what he is dedicated to. So in that vyavahar, one is that he will not go away from vyavahar. Whatever the duty is calling for him, whatever his role calls for, he will be sincere to that, and he will offer that to Bhagwan all over. So, but the sadhana for him is that he will not allow his preferences to overpower his decisions. So, so if we are saying that preferences should not overpower my vyavahara or my decisions in vyavahara, then what should then overpower my decision making, or what should be the driving force for my vyavahara? So my kartavya, my duty in the world, to my swadharma, that should come to the fore, and that should lead to the exercise of viveka. When I am clear on my goal, when I am clear on the objectives that I wish to implement in my life, then the preferences will not outweigh my duty. Then I will not hesitate in doing that which is called for to perform my duties, right? So here, besides that, what is much more in control of my vyavahara, what is it that will overpower that preference is my devotion to the Lord. In fact, that devotion to the Lord will bring much more sweetness in my vyavahara. So here, Bhagavan says that if we have to take an example, what example can we take? If we take the example of Yudhishthira, again, so him being the Dharmaraja, he was always, whatever the situation, he would not let the situation overpower him. In fact, he would always think in terms of a dharma perspective and go about doing his vyavahara. In fact, when it came to it and they were in the Vanavasa, 12 years they were supposed to be there, and then 1 year of trial, and then if in that time they are caught, then the Kauravas will then send them for a further period. So now here, what was it? When they were there in that Vanavasa, somewhere Shakuni, Duryodhana, always they would be plotting that there should be some way to keep nudging them, keep poking them, right? And in that final year, Shakuni said we should go to where they are staying, and we should show them our prosperity, and how their present state is so piety. It is something which is much more so pathetic in comparison. That should come about. So why not go and trouble them there? So that was their decision. And when they came, in fact, Yudhishthira and they were there living in the house, and then they heard about this incident which happened to the fore. So here, there was this lake, and there was this Gandharva, and this Gandharva Chitrasen, what did he do? He captured, this Gandharvas, they had their secret powers. They could, make themselves visible, they could make themselves invisible, and they somehow, this Chitrasena along with his other Gandharvas, caught hold of Duryodhana and Shakuni, and then what they did was they captured them, and they were not allowing them to move ahead. So that's when Yudhishthira, when he heard of this, he immediately told Bhima, he immediately told Arjuna that you have to go and release your cousin and Shakuni. Okay, we can't let them be tortured by those Gandharvas. So you have to definitely make sure that they're freed from that Gandharva Chitrasen. So now Bhima always was ready to object to whatever was told by Yudhishthira, when mainly in such incidences when the Kauravas were concerned, and when Yudhishthira would be kind of defending them. So he said, why is it that you are allowing them to go scot free? Why should we even do this kind of a thing? Then Yudhishthira says that, very profoundly he says that when it comes to any kind of conflict between us, that is the Pandavas and our cousins, the Kauravas, definitely when that internal rift is there, we have to think in a different direction. And then in that situation, definitely I wouldn't have told Arjuna to go and free them. But when it comes to the world, so when it comes to just a conflict between us and them, it is 100 versus 5. It is us 5 versus those 100. But when it comes to a conflict between us and the world, then we are 105 against the world. So this is what he actually says, right? And here you see that how was he? He was definitely so confirmed and so convinced in that dharma that even where there was a kind of enmity between the brothers, between the Pandavas and Kauravas, Yudhishthira still felt what is dharma, that has to be practiced, right? So when it comes to vyavahara, so when it comes to the world, it means that where there is the world factor involved, where there is the vyavahara in concern, then O Arjuna or O Bhima, what is it? It is Kauravas and Pandavas together against the Vyavaharik Satta, right? So there we have to exercise it in that way, right? So where for such a person, for such a situation, what is important is my conviction in that knowledge has to be clear, and from that knowledge only this vairagya is going to come about. This vairagya, this detachment is going to come, and when that detachment is there, only then will I be able to control my responses. So here when we say, right, that kartavya buddhi has to be there, and only then will I be bestowed with that prasanna swasthyam. That prasadam adhigacchati will come only when I am able to practice this sadhana of being in the vyavahara. How should I be in the vyavahara? Without letting my preferences overpower me. So there is also this, when we say vidheya atma, the one who is a very controlled kind of person, the person who is very convinced of his knowledge, is living in that, is abiding in that knowledge. So if we see who is such a person, again if we go in Ramayana, such a person, a vidheya atma, is Janak Maharaj. So there is that incident when Rama and Lakshmana, they come with Vishwamitra Rishi, and Janak Maharaj is not able to take his eyes off the two. Wherever, even if he is trying to, if someone is trying to speak to him, again and again his glance is going towards Rama and Lakshmana, and therefore he asks asks Vishwamitra Rishi, who are these two? And he says, I am that Vairagya. It is not that he says, I have Vairagya. It is not that he is saying that I am a detached person. He doesn't say that, but he says, I am Vairagya. So this is the kind of stance he normally had in the world, that he himself is Vairagya personified. Which means what? He is detached from the world and he is more abiding in that Brahman. So he says that, normally what happens is, my mind, even if it wanders away, it will wander away towards that absolute self, towards that Brahman. But now when I am looking at these two young princes, what is going on happening? My mind is going on be drawn by them. No matter who is trying to draw me into a conversation, my mind is just going to these two, and I feel they are none other than Brahma itself. So he asked Vishwamitraji, is my thinking right or no? Right? So here, that self-contained person, how is he? That self-controlled person, how is he? He has that prasanna chetasa, or he has that prasanna swastham, where his mind is completely cheerful in his knowledge, and therefore he is able to exercise that kind of control, right? Again, when we say, again, if we take another example from Ramayana in a reverse way, where Angad says that, I am such a person that definitely if you ask me, it is the incident just before they have to decide who will go to Lanka. So when he is asked, Angada is asked, why not, you have the capacity to leap across Lanka, so why don't you be that ambassador and why don't you go across? So Angad says, sure, I can leap and definitely reach the other side of the ocean, but I have no guarantee for myself. He says, I have no guarantee for myself to come out of the enticing experiences of the Vishayas over there. The kind of, enticing pleasures which are awaiting on the other side in Lanka, I am not sure whether I will be able to protect my knowledge from those kind of pleasures. So definitely what should I do? I should not go. I am not the person who can go and come back. I can definitely go, but maybe I will be stuck over there. So maybe I am not the person. Maybe you can look at Hanumanji for that. And of course, Hanumanji was completely centered in the Lord alone. And it was that devotion coupled by the support of the sadhana, which is what? Which is he was never overpowered by his preferences. He was in control of his preferences. He was in control of even what is the kind of response he would give to situations. So where he had to, become small, he would become small. Where he had to grow big, he would become big. Right? All for whom? All for Lord Rama, all at all times, keeping that Lord Rama alone is in his thoughts, knowing that his goal was not Vishaya Sukha, his Sukha was always centered in the Lord alone. Right? So, what is that which will keep me sweet even while I am in the Vishayas? It will keep my devotion to the Lord, my preference, or rather my attachment to the Lord alone will take me away from all other attachments. So here, what happens then to such a controlled person, or such a mind? What happens to such a seeker whose mind is in control of his senses? So he says, Bhagavan says, Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhih paryavatishthate. Again I will chant. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhih paryavatishthate. Okay, so here again, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi asya upajayate prasanna chetasa hi ashu buddhihi paryavatishthate. So now the one who has gained that prasada buddhi, right? Prasadam, right? Who has gained that prasanna swasthyam. How does he operate? Or what does he do in the world? How does he go about in this vyavaharik satta? So in that same prasad, in that same frame of mind, this person, no matter what the ups and downs, no matter the results thereof that are there, for such a person, he is always mastering the situation. He is the master of that situation. That situation is not in control of him. In fact, he is the one who is then controller of that situation. So for such a prasanna buddhi, prasanna chetasa hi ashu buddhihi paryavatishthate. So for such a person whose buddhi is ever prasanna, ever cheerful. Why is it so? Because his preferences are not overpowering him. He doesn't have any kind of insistence for success or failure. In both he is the same alone, right? So he is not going to say that, oh, you are playing this kind of music, I don't like this kind of music, can you play this music, that is my preference. Oh, are you giving me a economy class? No, I want the business class seat alone, only then I will travel. So this person, he's already learned to be in that dhamma at all times. He's in control of not just, his desires for the object, but he is also in control of his senses itself. So therefore, he no longer indulges in any kind of preferences. Rather, he is the one who is not just available for whatever vyavahar that has to happen without any kind of insistence. And therefore, he is ever, how? In that prasada buddhi. He is able to accept whatever situations with a smile on his face. He is never complaining, never having any kind of agitation. He is ever sama. So here he said, if we are working in the world outside, how is the mind going to be? Over a period of time, not only our body but also our mind will get tired and exhausted. But what, if we try to see in terms of the experiences that we have, what tires us more is not just the physical work. Physical work, over a period of time we'll come to know that, as per the capacity we increase or as per the stamina we increase, the body will by itself accept it. So if we are able to, build our capacity to walk 10,000 steps per day, right? If we are able to do it consistently, right, over a period of time, it just becomes simple. It just becomes very quick. There is no kind of pain in that, right? So what does one do then further? One will increase that capacity little more. One will increase that stamina little more. And the body will just take it into stride. And one will not be very exhausted. One might just be very fresh after that, right? But when it comes to the mind, the more my mental hang-ups, the more my insistence on certain things or certain opinions or certain ways of functioning, right, certain preferences that I make, the more will there be those, there will be stress situations where there is a lot of agitation that happens, and then one might not be able to function to the optimum, right. So here this is what is told. If we are working the more than the physical tiredness, what is more overpowering is the mental hang-ups or the mental exhaustion that results from this. So now if we are able to again look at our experiences, put a magnifying glass on how I am responding or reacting to various situations, I will see that there are three sources to any kind of dukkha. Now, what are these three sources? So, one is that of adhyatmic. Adhyatmic, that dukkha which comes from within me, that comes from the erroneous notion of I, this is me, this is mine, that erroneous notion which I have, right. So, that causes that sorrow, that is the adhyatmic sorrow, right, adhyatmic dukkha which comes. Then there is the adi bhautik, that comes from the known sources, that comes from the various situations and various environment that is familiar to me, right. So, these situations and these circumstances, though I am familiar with them, I have no control over them, okay. So, they are adi bhautik. Then there are those which are adi daivik. Adi daivik, they are unknown sources from where this dukkha comes. They are not definitely not in my control at all. So, how do I deal with these three types of dukkha? So, one who has this human birth, can they be able to go away from any of this dukkha? So, here if we look at the lives of Mahatmas also, we will see that it is definitely not possible for one who is in this vyavaharik satta to go away from any of these dukkhas, be it coming from objects, be it coming from people. When we are in vyavahar, these are definitely bound to be there, be it also from our own mind and body. From that adhyatmic also this dukkha can come about. So you will see, so many Mahatmas, though, they were right up there, they were the Sita Prajnas we might be looking for, right. But when it came to their own body, was it ever in sukha? No. Maybe that body had cancer, like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji, or if we look at the life of Swami Vivekananda, his family, though earlier was prosperous, it had gone down the doldrums. So such a huge family was now that was dependent on him at some time, and he was totally helpless in the kind of poverty that they were facing. But in that, what was tested was not his worldly pull, but more his pull or his devotion to the Lord. So when that dukkha came, that dukkha was replaced by that higher pull towards the Lord Almighty, right? And there is the incident of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa telling him, why don't you ask Devi Ma for that prosperity that you are seeking in the world for the sake of your family. But when he goes and faces that Devi Ma, whom earlier, because he used to never do any kind of idol worship, and here was the situation where he was completely helpless, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji said, okay, go ahead, ask Mata, let the Mata give you that Vishaya Sukha, or let that you ask that for that prosperity, and definitely she will fulfill your desire. But then what does he ask that Mata? What does he ask Kali Ma? He just says, he asks for that Parama Vairagya from the world itself. He says, give me that Vairagya. Jnana vairagya siddhyartham is what he asks for, right? And definitely Mata grants that for him. So if we see, these problems, these dukkhas are definitely going to come from all these three. That is Adhyatmic, Adibhautik and Adidaivik. One might be a Mahatma, or one might be a normal lowly person also. But one cannot be able to go away from any such situations. So what then should one do? One should be able to build that kind of immunity that one seeks. One should be able to build that armor around oneself through sadhana. So which is the sadhana that we are speaking of right now? Besides the sadhana of japa, besides that sadhana which takes us more closer to Bhagwan through devotion, here what is the sadhana that is being told by Bhagwan to practice is that one should go beyond one's preferences. One should go beyond the I and mine. That I and mine, if I am able to go away from my ishtas, all that I like, or all that towards which I have my raga dvesha, if I am able to distance myself from it, then what is going to happen is, then I am going to have that prasanna chetasaha. Prasanna chetasahi ashuhu buddhihi paryavatishthate. Prasanna chetasho yashu buddhiv paryavatishthate. Paryavatishthate, that mind becomes very steady. Once that mind has become become empowered by this kind of a sthira buddhi in that knowledge, and through that knowledge one is able to practice viveka, and that viveka is telling me that I should go beyond my preferences, more towards that buddha sthirata rather than engaging in the vishaya sukha. Then I am able to have that prasanna chetasa. So then and whatever circumstances are there in life, then they are not going to harm me. So how is that? Prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasyopajayate. Hanihi asyaha upajayate. So hanihi asya upajayate, for such a person with a sthira buddhi, who is practicing that kind of a sadhana, for that person what arises, that knowledge arises to keep him steady in the world. Then in the next verse, right, in the next verse he says, what is the effect of such a controlled buddhi? For whom will it benefit? Because I am in the world of Vishaya, all these so many desires are there, and you're telling me to, keep myself controlled, don't indulge. Even those Vishayas that I do indulge in, you are saying that, may those be in line with your duties, in line with your dharma, in line with whatever it is that is your dedication and consistent practice to attain that highest. So what is then, what is then going to be effect of that? What is it that I am going to gain? So what is the glory of such a healthy and great mind? So here is what Bhagwan says in the 66th verse. He says, Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayatas shantihi shantasya ashantas kuthas sukham. Again I will chant it. Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayatas shantihi ashantasya kutas sukham. So here actually, though it is told in the reverse way, again later on, in the 6th chapter again, Bhagavan asks for a yukta person, a person who is so much definitely in union with, whose buddhi is so much in union with that Paramatma, what is then the result? So here, but what is told is in the reverse order. There again, the same shloka will be reminded, Bhagavan will remind us of this shloka. But here what is being told? So he says, Nasti buddhi ayuktasya. The one who has no devotion, who is not in tune or is not in union with that goal, for such a person, that buddhi will not be there. What buddhi will not be there? That Sankhya buddhi will not come. Right? We are talking of that Sankhya buddhi only, right? And we are talking of that person who has that Sankhya buddhi, and not just has the Sankhya buddhi, but also has, is sthira in it, is steady in that, right? He not only has a conviction in it, but he is steadily abiding in that buddhi. So what a person who does not have this kind of a integrated mind, the mind which is integrated with the end goal, with that knowledge. For such a person, what then happens? Nacha ayuktasya bhavana. So one is, his mind is not, his buddhi is not in that highest knowledge, and second, or in that Sankhya knowledge, or that knowledge of the self is not then clear to this person. And then second is what? Nacha yuktasya bhavana. Nor is he having the knowledge, nor is he able to abide in that knowledge. Why so? Because he has no control. So here he says, so such a person who will not get that Sankhya buddhi. Second is what? And such a person will not be able to abide in that knowledge. Even if he is getting the knowledge, he will not be able to recall that knowledge when he requires it most. So he will not be able to abide in that knowledge. Nacha bhavayata shantihi. And the person who does not have this kind of bhavana is not able to center himself in that knowledge. For such a person, where then is shanti? Where then is that bliss of quietude which he is seeking? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, he warns us directly, okay? In the Bhashya he says that such a person, if we go on, if a person is there who is not able to overcome his preferences, is not able to come out of the world of desires, for such a person, even if he hears of that Sankhya yoga, or if he gains that knowledge in some way or the other, it will not remain at all with him. It will never become steady, it will never become sthira. So that Atma Sukha then is never going to be his. Because why? Because he is so illusioned, or he is so deluded by this moha for Vishaya Sukha, that Atma Sukha becomes very distant to him. So this Vishwa Sukha becomes the reality, and Atma Sukha completely gets wiped off from his mind. So one who does not abide in this Atma, where is there any kind of sukha, any kind of a peace for such a person? So here he says, Ashantasya kutha sukham. So this is all that we spoke of now. This is in connection with what? With that prasanna buddhi, right? That prasannata swasthyam, which Bhagavan spoke of, right? So one is only when I have control over, one who is a vidheya atma. We started with that, right? Atma vashe vidheya atma. The one who is in control of himself. Atma vashe vidheya atma. He's very controlled, he's very refined in his thinking, and knows what to engage in and knows what to withdraw from. For such a person, there is the prasad is there. What is that prasada? The prasad is the prasanna swasthyam. Prasanna swasthyam, a cheerful mind, a cheerful mental health, a good mental health is what he will be blessed with. Now, if one is having this prasannata, then what will come as a result? As a result of this person will be able to meditate steadily, quietly, without any kind of disturbances within and also from external sources. He will never be disturbed in any way. He will be able to with ease flow into that meditation, right? And then once you can flow into that dhyanam, what is going to happen? That samadhi is going to be easily coming to me. I will be able to go into my own nature very smoothly and easily. And I can then not have any kind of erroneous notions pinching me or pulling me out of that samadhi, right? So I will be able to abide very easily, right? And if I am able to abide in that knowledge, then definitely I am going to be in that Atma Sukha. I will not be able to be drawn anywhere outside of myself. External pulls will no longer, or external ups and downs will no longer cause any kind of disturbance to me. I will then be able to just be. So this reminds of this example which is given in Viveka Chudamani, where the group of disciples is walking with the teacher and they come across this pond, and in this pond it is covered with this a kind of a green moss is there which is covering the water, which makes you feel that there is no water in fact. So what does the teacher do? Because the teacher has gone that way many times, or he has gone in similar places many times, he just goes and puts his hand across and he kind of removes that cover of that shevala, that green moss. He kind of pushes it aside, so that what in that moment of clearance which comes in that water, people are able to drink the water steadily. And then after some time, when the water settles back again, the shevala, that moss comes back again, in its place. It comes back in again. Then further, if we say that this student is walking by himself and comes across such a lake again, will he be able to do the same? He will be able to do only when he remembers what the teacher had done. Because why? Because at that time when he was with his teacher, what was happening? He was much more taken by his own thirst and his quest to just drink that water fast, rather than looking at what the teacher had done. So what does the teacher do? Teacher removes that moss. But what does the student have to do? The student has to be alert and aware and know what is to be done when. Having observed the teacher very minutely, having understood his acharana and understood what is to be done for what reason. So here also Bhagavan is as though warning us, right? What is the chain of thought here is nasti buddhihi ayuktasya. So first what is important is my syncing with the proper line of thought, with my knowledge. That is much more important, right? And when will this come about? When my sadhana is intact. Only when my sadhana is intact, then I can expose myself into this kind of an environment where all the vishayas are there, and I'm able to be in them and yet not be touched by them, not be pulled into their flow. In fact, I am able to keep myself steady in the right kind of buddhi when my preferences are not in control of me, when I am in control of my preferences. So that bhavana has to be how? It has to be completely in my control, and only when that is in control can I gain that shanti. And that shanti is going to result in what? In sukham only. In what sukham? In that atma sukham. And that is what I am seeking, not these small Vishaya Sukham, which will come and go and they will result in Dukkha only. So when I make my decisions, they should be these smart decisions based on the knowledge that I have gained. Okay, so we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.